Someone texts you, I can't have this conversation. It's not emotionally safe for me right now. And you just stop. You go quiet. You feel guilty, like somehow you are the problem. But here's what nobody's telling you. That sentence might be one of the most sophisticated manipulation tactics of 2026. And the terrifying part? It's built entirely from the language of healing. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will never be silenced by a buzzword again. Part 1. How did we get here? Okay, real talk. Therapy speak changed lives. Genuinely, a generation of people finally had the words to describe what was being done to them. Gaslighting, emotional unavailability, trauma responses. For millions of people, that vocabulary was a lifeline. But somewhere between the therapist's office and the TikTok comment section, something went wrong. We took the vocabulary of mental health and left behind the responsibility that comes with it. Now those same words are being used not to heal relationships, but to win them. And there's actually a psychological name for this. It's called concept creep, a theory by psychologist Nick Haslam. It explains how harm-related words like trauma, abuse, and toxic slowly expand in meaning until they cover things they were never designed for. Minor inconveniences become psychological injuries. Annoying becomes abusive. Disagreement becomes violence. And when that happens, when every uncomfortable feeling is a crisis, suddenly you don't have to do anything hard. You don't have to apologize. You don't have to change. You just have to perform healing. So let's break down exactly how this works. 3 tactics, real examples, and how to shut each one down. Part 2. Tactic number 1, the boundary wall. Let's start with the word that broke the internet, boundaries. Now, I want to be clear, real boundaries are beautiful. In actual therapy, a boundary is a limit on your own behavior in response to someone else's actions. For example, if you raise your voice at me, I'm going to leave the room until we've both calmed down. That's a boundary. That's healthy. That's self-regulation. But here's what it looks like when it's weaponized. My boundary is that you're not allowed to tell me when I've hurt you. My boundary is that you can't be friends with that person. My boundary is that you can't question my decisions. That's not a boundary. That's a rule. That's control dressed up in a wellness costume. And here's the psychological reason it works so well as manipulation. The word boundary has a halo around it now. Culturally, to violate someone's boundary is one of the worst things you can do. So when someone frames their demand as a boundary, you freeze. You don't want to be the villain. You don't want to be the one who doesn't respect their healing journey. So you comply, and they win, and nothing gets resolved. The counter move. When someone uses a boundary to shut you down, calmly and kindly reframe it. Try this. I completely respect your need for space, and I also need us to find a time to address this together. When would you be ready to do that? You're not violating anything. You're just refusing to let boundary become a conversation ender. Part 3, tactic number 2, the diagnosis weapon. Quick show of hands, metaphorically, you're watching a video. How many of you have called an ex a narcissist? Yeah, me too. We all have. And look, some people genuinely do exhibit narcissistic behavior. Real narcissistic personality disorder exists, it's serious, and it causes real harm. But most of the time, when we call someone a narcissist, what we mean is, they hurt me, and I want a word that explains why I'm the hero of this story. This is called pathologizing normal conflict. Instead of saying, you really hurt me when you did that, we say, you're toxic. Instead of saying, we have different communication styles, we say, you're a gaslighter. And here's why it's so dangerous for both people. For the person being labeled, their entire perspective is now invalid. You can't argue with a diagnosis. The moment you've been called a narcissist, anything you say in your defense is just more evidence of the narcissism. For the person doing the labeling, you've now given yourself permission to stop being curious about the other person. They're not a complex human who made a mistake. They're a case study. You've outsourced your empathy to a TikTok thumbnail. There's even a name for this in psychology. It's called moral grandstanding, using sophisticated language to signal that you are the enlightened, healed one in the room. It creates a power imbalance where the other person's raw, plain, human emotion is made to feel unrefined, unevolved, unhealthy. And here's the brutal irony. The person doing the most therapy talking is often doing the least therapy working. The counter move. Don't fight the label. Don't say, I'm not a narcissist. That's a trap. Instead, bring it back to specifics. That's a big word. Can you point me to the specific thing I did that felt that way to you? Labels are easy to argue about. Specific events are not. Ground it in reality. Part 4. Tactic number 3. the accountability exit. This is the one that I think is the most quietly destructive. We have built, accidentally, I think, an entire escape hatch out of accountability, and it's paved with mental health language. Here's what it sounds like. I didn't lie to you. I just have a different truth. I can't apologize right now. Revisiting this is re-traumatizing me. I'm not able to hold space for your anger. I need to protect my peace. Every single one of those sentences sounds like emotional intelligence. It uses the right words. It has the right cadence. It almost sounds like something you'd hear in a therapy session. But strip it down and look at what's actually being communicated. I don't have to be honest. I don't have to say sorry. Your feelings are less important than my comfort. This is what researchers call a therapeutic bypass, using the framework of healing to avoid the actual work of healing. And it's everywhere. There's also a Dunning-Kruger effect happening here that we don't talk about enough. Most people using this language have a TikTok deep understanding of psychology. They know enough words to sound fluent, but not enough context to understand why those words exist in the first place. Emotional safety is a real clinical concept. It does not mean situations where I am never challenged or held accountable. Real emotional growth is messy. It's uncomfortable. It looks like two people, both hurt, both imperfect, trying to see each other anyway. It does not look like a polished, well-structured response designed to make one person seem healed and the other seem broken. The countermove. When someone uses safety language to exit accountability, try this. I hear that you need some space right now, and I respect that. I do want to name that there's still something unresolved between us, and I'd like for us to address it when you're ready, because I value this relationship enough to have the hard conversation. You're not attacking their healing. You're refusing to let healing become a synonym for avoidance. Part 5. The real fix. So what's the actual solution here? It's not to throw out the vocabulary. These words exist for real reasons. Gaslighting is real. Trauma is real. Toxic patterns are real. We should be able to talk about them. But there's a difference between using a word to understand yourself and using a word to win an argument. The fix is radical simplicity. Instead of, I feel triggered by your behavior, try, that really hurt me. Instead of, I need to set a boundary around this dynamic, try, I'm not okay with that. Here's why. Instead of, I'm holding space for your experience, try, I'm here. I'm listening. Keep going. Plain language is vulnerable. It doesn't have armor. It doesn't sound smart or evolved. It just sounds like a person talking to another person. And that's exactly why it works. Because you cannot weaponize, that really hurt me. There's nothing to argue with. There's only a human being in front of you, telling you the truth. Here's my challenge to you this week. The next time you feel a therapy word forming in your throat, pause and ask yourself, am I using this word to understand something or to avoid something? That 1 second check might change a relationship. Now I want to hear from you. Drop in the comments, what's the most weaponized therapy speak line someone has ever used on you? Let's talk about it, like humans. No jargon required. If this video made you think, hit the like button. It genuinely helps more people find this conversation. Subscribe if you want more of this kind of honest, no fluff content. I'll see you in the next one.